Okay, today we're going to do a firmware upgrade for a pair of NetScalers set up in HA config. The NetScalers are set up at a 10.5, and we're going to an 11.0.66.11 build. Now, the recommended way to do this is by way of command line, so that's what we're going to do here. So as part of the staging process, what I did is actually copied the firmware up to both NetScalers, so that's what I'm showing you here. I logged in by way of WinSCP, copied from my local machine to the var nsinstall directory, and what I did, I created a directory name with the actual build version name. So that's what you see here. So I repeated that process on actually both NetScalers. So again, they both have their own individual copy. So I'm logging in here on the primary NetScaler, just to give you a peek at the environment. Logging in as NSRoot, and you can see we're at 10.5.51.10 and core. And as far as the system config, we're going to take a peek at the HA config. You see we have one primary, one secondary. The primary is set up as stay primary. So we're going to change that before we start this upgrade. So we jump into the edit and hit the drop down and select enabled as opposed to stay primary. Click on OK, and we come back and we see that it's there. Save the config. And now that it's done, I'm going to take a look at the load balancing we have set up here. So here's our virtual server. It's called Colors. And on the back inside, I've got 3 web servers with associated colored web pages. And just as a quick check, you'll see as we take a peek here at the load balancing, it's functional, rotating between the 3 web servers in the back end. Okay, with that we'll log out. And we'll jump on the secondary. Just a peek at the GUI on that. Notice that it says it is running as a secondary. That's a little warning notice that we got. And we'll check the HA config here too. Yeah, it says it's secondary. That's what we expected to see. All's good, so we'll log out. Okay, again, so as the upgrade process describes per the docs, we're supposed to do this by way of command line. So we're going to start up a putty session into our secondary NetScaler here. We'll log in as NSRoot. And we'll just take a peek at the config. We'll do a show HA node. Notice that we are on the secondary, which is exactly what we expect to see. And per the docs, it says to do a save config. It says nothing's changed since last time we've done it, and that's fine. So now we jump out to the shell. Now in the shell, we change directories back into that directory that we've copied the image to. Let's see, I guess it's not the nsconfig. Let's kind of start from the beginning. So we'll cd back to the root and start from there. Oh yes, that's right, it's nsinstall. So we'll enter the pwd command just to make sure where we're expecting to be. First thing we do is extract the firmware image by using the tar command. That's a tar-zxvf and the name of the file, and we'll let it extract. Okay, done. So at this point, the file is extracted. We'll go ahead and begin the actual upgrade by issuing the command. We'll do the /install ns. And we'll just sit back and watch this go through the upgrade process on this node. Okay, so at the end, it wants us to reboot. We'll say yes, and of course it drops our putty session. And since this is a virtual machine, I'm going to go on over to the virtual machines console. We can watch it reboot. We'll kind of speed things up here as far as the video is concerned. So it's gone through the whole reboot. Notice the logon prompt there in the VM console. So we'll switch back to our putty session, which had ended, and we'll open back up again. So again, we're doing the secondary first, if that makes sense. So with that secondary, we'll log back in. And just for grins, we'll do a show version. Notice that we got a version NS11 build 6611. So that's where we wanted to be. That was our upgrade. And let's check the HA status again. So to show HA node. And notice that it says secondary. Also that the sync state is auto-disabled. It does this by way of noticing that both nodes of the HA pair are running different versions of firmware. So this happens on the fly automatically. But I want to set this up so it runs, so it's completely disabled. So I'm going to do a set node -HA sync disable. And we'll check that status again by show HA node. And notice this time, instead of being auto-disabled for the sync, it is completely disabled. So at this point, we want to go ahead and do a force failover. We can start working on our other NetScaler. So it prompts for a yes or no on that failover. We say yes. Do a quick check again by show HA node, and it is now our primary, our acting primary. So we'll go ahead and everything looks good. We'll do a quit. It says, hey, make sure you save changes, yes, no, and I say yes. And after the yes, it pops us out. Alright, so now we've got our secondary done. We'll go ahead and move over to our initial primary NetScaler and basically repeat that same process. So we'll start up a putty session and log in with our NS root again. And again, practices basically says to save config. We'll jump out to our shell, change directories where we've copied that firmware up to. Again, that's a var ns install, and then I name the directory the name of the build number. Do a pwd to just double check that we're at the location we want to be. And now let's basically untar that file. So that's a tar-zxvf and the build. And we'll let this finish here. Okay, that's done. Let's go ahead and start the install. That's a ./whack install ns. And we'll let this finish. And a prompt to reboot when it's done. We'll say yes. And of course our putty session basically ends for us. So we'll close that window, jump over to the console again just to see it reboot. And I'll kind of fast forward through this. And it's saying log in. So we're ready to jump back out here and start our putty session again back to our initial primary machine that we just upgraded. So we'll log in again as NS root. And once back in, we'll do a show HA node. And notice that it says, yep, we're the secondary. That's what we expected. And we'll force failover. Say yes, done. Show HA node. And at this point it says it's now the primary. So now we're back to our initial configuration. Our primary scaler is now again our primary, and the secondary. So we'll quit out of our PuTTY session here. Again, prompts to save. We'll say yes before we exit out here. And we'll jump now on our secondary, because remember there's one thing we have to re-enable again, and that was that HA sync. So we'll do that with a set node -HA sync enable. And now we'll just check the status here. Show HA node. And one thing it says here is it is still in progress. So we'll refresh this by repeating the same command. And it says success. So we're synced back up again. So we'll quit back out of this screen. So quit. Prompting to save changes. Yes, always a good idea. And let's jump back into our GUI at this point. So we'll log into our primary. And its root. Taking a little bit longer this time to get to our initial screen. Okay, Citrix User creates some improvement program. We didn't get that before, so that means it's definitely changed. And notice the status here says our primary is at a 116611. Let's check the high availability, and it says primary secondary. That's what we expected to see. And what we'll do is we'll change our primary back to a stay primary condition. That's what it was initially when we first started this upgrade. Click on OK. And we'll return back to the initial condition. Check our load balancing. Virtual servers, green, looks good. Check our backend servers, green, looks good. So we'll go ahead and save this config. Remember we changed that stay primary setting, so we're going to save this. And let's check our different web servers. And our load balancing. Yep, that seems to be working. And just for grins, I'm going to log back into our secondary node, just do a quick check on that. Notice the little warning indicating it's a secondary. We expect to see that. Same thing indicating the upgrade version. See, load balancing. There's our virtual, and there's our other servers, all green. Okay, that all looks good. Thanks for joining me in this video.